End of this video, you guys will be able to create your own db.json file. So this will be your db.json file. The front end will be able to add something to that db.json file. So if I go here, you can see that dummy name is added here, and you will be able to traverse that as well. And we will be using JSON server. So probably we will be viewing all those things, the setup and how to make get calls, how to make post calls in this video. So stay tuned. Get started. So to download JSON server, what you need to do is you need to install JSON server globally. It's a npm package. If you go to your machine, what you can do is you can use npm install JSON server, and you can use globally, and it will install the JSON server in your machine. And so what this will do is it will create a JSON file, and you are able to communicate with the JSON file. Your front end will be able to communicate with the JSON file, and that JSON file will act as a database for you. So anything you work on that JSON file or update the JSON file, front end will be knowing those changes. So how can we start that JSON file? For the documentation purpose, you guys can go ahead and see the JSON server documentation. So I'll be sharing this link in the description. So basically it needs a JSON file which can be watched, and this particular thing runs on the port 3000, but we already have something running in 3000, which is our earlier application. So if you go here, so this is our, if you go to my previous video, you can see this application. So what we need is we need a JSON server that will serve a db.json file. So let's start with this only. So if we do db.json and I don't want this, sorry, port to be used, so I need the 3001 port. So now you can see there is a port running on 3001, and if you copy this, and if you go here and if you paste this, you can see something is running here. So where is this data coming from? So what it does is, so it have created a db.json file in your application itself. So I was in that particular location, and it created something what we needed. So this is the dummy structure what db.json actually provides. So going forward, let's say if I want to use this particular thing. So if I don't want that dummy URL what we have already had in our previous session, so let's say if I use employee, so this should return me something, but in the db.json there is nothing called employee. So probably I'll change it with employee. I don't need other things as of now. And there are some parameters. So if this returns something, this will be returned in the form of object name and all those things. So you can go here, you can go change those things, and you will see. So this is only for the binding purpose. You guys can use whatever you want. So let's say this will be 10,000, and let's say this is something 30. So now if I go here and if I refresh it, you still don't see the changes. So that's because we have not used the watch. So in that, that's the only reason why it asked us to use the watch. And if I stop this, if I use this, and if I keep watching the db.json file, just you have to add the watch function here, and if you reload it, you won't see anything. That's because we have changed the name to employee, and if you now see, you can see whatever we have added. So if you go here in our application, so this is basically looking for a data actually, but we don't have any data. So if you go here, so this will result in employee. Now if you go here, so we have already in the employee, so this will basically give a result actually. So now you are getting the data from the db.json file. What if I add something? Let's say if I add one more object that says, let's say Alexa. Okay, now if I refresh this, you can see that the second one is also there. So this is how we can get use of db.json file, and you can do all kind of methods whatever you want. So let's say I'll be talking about the other methods. Let's say if I want to add something in the db.json file, let's say if I want to add a dummy name. So what I can do is on click, this will do this dot add dummy, and probably this is add dummy. So how this work is, so this is basically an API call. So whatever you can do with the API call, let's say if you want to add something, if you want to use get, put, post, delete, so whatever you want, you will be available, you will be allowed to do all those things. So this will help the front-end engineers to kind of integrate the data services, the mocking of the services with the backend team. So what will this add dummy will do? So I'll be creating a basic request. Let's say I have a request, and this request will be an object, and this includes a body. So this is the normal syntax of how the things will go. JSON.stringify, and what do you want to stringify actually? And here you need an ID. So basically every db.json file should have an ID. So probably if I add some ID here, sorry. So that's only for the iteration actually. So if you want to update something, you cannot update anything without the ID. So let's say if you want to update this Alexa to Alexa 123. So in that case, you might need that ID. So ID is the unique identifier for each of the object you have created. So how will you get to know the ID? So probably I'll use the next value. So length will be consistent. Probably if I add 1, so this will work. What other things we need? So we need these three things. Let's copy this, paste this, and let's remove the starting ones. Okay, and this will be our dummy name. Let's say is the richer one. And what else do we need? So if I use the body, we need the headers also. Sorry. And why do we need these headers? That's because we need to set the content type, which is probably application JSON. So this is required for the API calls, and this will be the application JSON. What next thing do we need? So we need the method. So what kind of method is this? So we are using the method as post. Now we are done with the request creation. So now what it will do? So it will do something same like this. So what I'll do is I'll copy this, I'll paste this, but we need a second parameter that says the request. And once this request is done, probably we don't want to do anything, so probably we can do like alert data saved. And if we refresh that, probably we can see that yes, dummy data is kind of saved. If I go here, so there's a button add dummy data. If I click here, data saved. Okay. If I refresh this, you won't see anything. Let's see what happened. So you are able to add the ID, but you cannot see anything. Let's see what's going wrong here. Probably it's content type, not content types. And if everything is okay, so let me do it again. Data saved. Okay. If I refresh this, now you can see there is a dummy data coming on. So there was a typo kind of thing. So if you go to db.json file, you can just remove this and you will get rid of the whatever the white space you are seeing here. You cannot see that anymore. So this is how we can use the JSON server. Going forward, let's say if we want to make any kind of form submission and anything else, we'll be using this db.json file, and anything and everything you want to make the method calls like put and post and get and anything. So you can use this db.json file. Make sure this is running on the different port, and you can use that port uh, accordingly. So probably so currently we are running this in two tabs. Probably if you guys are aware about the concurrently, we can use that to run two multiple ports in one particular tab. So we'll see that in next lectures probably. So that's pretty much. So you are able to add something, and eventually, if you are able to get the data from the local server, you are able to post the data into the local server. That's pretty much. Thank you, guys.